So I've got another Tecumseh motor to do some work on. So first things first, go ahead and remove the air filter, throw that aside. This actually has the better air filter, namely because it doesn't have openings here at the top, it's just there and there. It kind of helps with keeping water out of the fuel system, but it's not foolproof, but it's better than nothing. So I've already taken liberty of undoing both of these bolts for the exhaust. And there we have that. And somebody's been into this thing before because there's a zip tie holding that fuel line on. So I'll have to cut that off and pull back the fuel line. I think there's actually gas in this thing. And it smelled good if I remember right. Yeah, it smells fine. So that's fresh gas. I think this was the one where the guy threw it away, and I kind of speculated that it just wasn't wanting to start for him because of these carburetor issues. But so all I have to do now is really just remove that fuel line and pinch it off, and we'll get going. Well, so unfortunately, here's that new carburetor that I purchased. I just was not able to get this thing to function correctly. I mean, I guess I should have expected this at some point, buying these cheapo Chinese carbs, but with these Tecumseh motors, you kind of don't really have a choice unless you want to spend 60, 70, 80 bucks on, you know, a new old stock Tecumseh carburetor. But what I ended up doing, because this one, I tried a different float. I tried two different floats, actually, two different needles, and it was still pissing gas out of the front of the carburetor. So I tried, you know, everything I could think of. I even removed this little hose, which the other one didn't have, and nothing I did worked. So I said screw it, and ended up throwing the other one back on. And I cleaned that one out and replaced the primer bulb as well. I bought 6 primer bulbs off of Amazon for like $4 each. So it worked out pretty good. They're not really sold here locally anymore. But as you guys can see, I did as one of my viewers calls it, an aerosol overhaul. Love to Boat 92 suggested that I start touching the decks up with some spray paint. So this one I took a wire brush to and tried to get off, you know, what rust I could with it. It's not perfect, but it's definitely better than it was. You can see the rust spot over there on the driveway. But I ended up trying his method, and it kind of does look a little bit better. It definitely restored some of the gloss to it. It's far from perfect, and I am by no means a painter, nor am I going to spend an exorbitant amount of time on, you know, any sort of lawnmower. This lawnmower, aside from the carburetor issue and, you know, the deck needing to be painted a bit, it actually came to me without needing all that much done to it. It's got 4 brand new wheels, and these wheels are the really good ones that are, you know, solid rubber. Have a solid rubber wheel on them, and then it's a solid metal rim, I guess. But a lot of the wheels that I've got on hand are all plastic. So this one's got a set of heavy-duty wheels on it. It's also got a brand new blade, which I'm guessing the owner put on it. Looks pretty good. It's still sharp too. I didn't even bother sharpening it. So I think, you know, aside from the blade, aside from the wheels, it's got a brand new spark plug on it, an E3 spark plug. It seems to run okay with that, so I'm not really too worried about it. And it's also got a brand new air filter. I haven't hardly had to spend any money on this thing, amazingly. But everything's working good. It did at one time, actually yeah, I did because I took it off, but it had a manual throttle on it, and I removed that and just wired the throttle linkage for the carburetor up to the bracket here. So that keeps it going at a steady speed. I don't really see much of a point in having a manual throttle on really any lawnmower, because believe it or not, I've never actually had the need to use one. Enough of me babbling. I also changed the oil in it, so you know, that was $2 right there. Let's give her a start and see what happens. Alright, so let's give it a start. I also forgot to mention I did replace the blade control cable, and it wasn't a perfect fit because this thing, it did have the throttle control that was built into the handle, which also housed the cable, and that whole system didn't work anyway, so that's another reason why I did end up changing that out. But works fine how it is. It is a little redneck, but you know, it's not a huge deal. It's a $100, $120 lawnmower. It's not really anything I'm too worried about. But aside from that, this thing runs good, and hopefully it'll work out for whoever buys it. So far, it's turning out to be a good little mower. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. You want to stay classy.